Greetings and salutations, listener. It is I, Eric J. Chucky, joined, as always, by the boy.
Hey.
This is the Two Nerds Podcast, and today we're talking about whatever the fuck we want.
Yep, we're doing a catch-up podcast, because we've been covering a bunch of stuff. We've been doing a bunch of stuff that isn't worth, like, its own podcast. So we just sort of throwing it all in a big pile, and you get to listen to the pile.
Welcome. I don't remember the last time we did a catch-up podcast.
Me neither.
So, like, I'm sorry, listener, if you're missing out on significant points in our lives, things in entertainment we've liked or disliked that weren't quite podcast-worthy. You know how you could do that? You could follow us on Twitter. You could follow me on Twitter. He never posts anything.
That's true.
And you could donate to the Patreon. You could like, you could subscribe, you could leave a comment below to let us know you're listening and tell us what else you'd like to hear about in the future. And we'll probably just stick to what we were going to do anyway, but sometimes I like to please. So
you know what? I don't know if that's true. We have a small enough fan base that if someone gives enough of a shit to actually comment on something they want us to talk about.
That is true. It is like, well, yes, Rob or KJ, we will do exactly those things. Thank you for pointing it out.
Yeah, that's... Thanks, one of the three people who listens to this podcast. That's super nice of you.
In recent memory, Pokemon.
You've been doing the Pokemans?
I've been poking
the new Pokemons?
Mm-hmm.
The one that the internet is very mad?
Oh, and I drink the tears up like hot soup. Or hot garbage water, if you prefer.
Tell the listener why the tears are good for you.
I almost didn't buy the game. I had convinced myself not to buy the game. Because the internet was like, man, I don't know if y'all weren't there. Pokemon drama in general just makes me shake my head and go on to something else. Like, I'm barely on social media, like, actively anymore. I am on Facebook now more, just because at least I know the motherfuckers. You know, it's not some random assortment of he said, she said anymore. So, anyway, I was on the Pokemon Reddit, learning Pokemon facts. And the news came out that the entirety of the Pokedex is not available in Sword and Shield. This was a while ago. Which, I mean, okay, that's kind of lame, because I'm sure a lot of people's favorites are going to be left out, and that sucks. At the same time, we don't need all of them, and this was bound to happen eventually. We're like... Next generation is going to push us over 1,000. I would be surprised if it didn't. That's a lot of pocket monsters.
Monsters for your pocket?
You don't need... No, that's a different thing.
Oh, okay.
Well, monster in my pocket.
Oh.
You remember those?
No.
From the 90s, they were little, like, rubbery plastic figures.
Mm-hmm.
There were different monsters and stuff. They started out with really common things, and then they went to, like, weird shit. They actually had an NES video game, which I believe was a reskin of a different video game. I want to say it was done by Konami.
This has been your fun fact for the evening.
Yeah, I'm full of stupid esoteric knowledge, and that's why I work as a cashier. Man, people were getting mad, like furious mad. Like, that exact kind of entitled, let me speak to the manager mad. And I think it's interesting because, like, in a competitive level, it means there's a meta now. More than there was before, where it was willy-nilly and Smogon and all that stuff. Just, you know, okay, these are the rules you have to operate in. That the game designers have more control over what we're going to be seeing. And I think that's interesting. I think it's an interesting change.
It also allows for changes to the meta, whereas, like, from what I understand from the person I know who plays a fair amount of Pokemon, it's been fairly static for many, many, many years.
Yeah, I mean, Fairy type was the biggest change. And that was a while ago.
It becomes a new thing. Like, these 3 tier 1, you know, gotta have them in a real competitive party Pokemon. Well, none of them are in the game anymore. Loser, pick new ones.
For me specifically, this was never a factor. When I play a new Pokemon game, I want to play the new Pokemon. Yes, I have my favorites, but I want to play the new Pokemon. It's something that drove me nuts about Sun and Moon, was that they hid all of the new Pokemon away in weird corners of fields with like a 2% random chance to find them. Don't do that. I'm not here to see Pikachu and Caterpie again.
Just so we're clear, I'm not the Pokemon guy. I only really started playing Pokemon around the time X came out, and even then I played and beat Leaf Green, Pearl, X, and then I got to Pokemon Sun, and I just stopped playing the video game. It was fucking boring. I got bored because even I had seen all these Pokemon before.
Yeah. So, like, yeah, I just want to see different stuff, and I know fundamentally it's all similar, but, you know.
That makes sense.
Different visual
passing the
designs.
drama, what do you like about the new Pokemon game?
Pretty much everything. I mean, you know, taking out those Pokemon means removing data from the game. It allows for better models for the Pokemon themselves, which have indeed been redone. Do not let nefarious websites on the internet lie to you. Actually, not even lie to you. Just give you the actual evidence and then tell you the evidence is what you think it is. So that
Do
there's
not
nothing
pay
to
attention to
conclusion.
the evidence of your eyes
Yeah.
and ears.
Anyway, it's freed up so much more space, and being on the Switch, of course, for, you know, well, I hate to quote a movie I've not seen and don't care for from what little I've seen, but activities.
Yeah.
I like making curry. It's a nice version of several old mini games. I'm sad that we don't have quite the same taking care of your Pokemon. I don't remember the names of all the mini games like they did in Sun and Moon.
Where you could brush them.
Yeah, and all that stuff. That was pretty cool.
Well, you have the camp, and the camp has some
It's
stuff.
got, you can play with them a little bit and kind of chit chat with them and stuff. And I think when Home comes out early next year, it's probably going to have some of those features.
I really, like, from what little I've seen you play, one of the things that is a vast improvement is, like, it not being on a screen that I can cover up with my palm is a vast improvement. Just by itself.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to play it on the big screen. I haven't much. I've mostly played it like on the couch with the Switch undocked, but you know, that's fine too. I like the new options for seeing the Pokemon in the overworld. I think that's going to do cool shit when I finally Nuzlocke this game.
Because it allows you to go, what's in that bush?
Yeah.
I don't want any of them. I'm going to leave that bush alone.
Or if I want to, it has little grass ruffles, and I can go after those specifically so that I guarantee a random Pokemon.
Yeah.
The presentation is over the top changed. It's amazing. The sound design. I love the story and the setting because it really feels like a great official Nintendo version of the shit that Nuzlocke comics and Pokemon comics in general, the fan-made content, have been trying to make what's the word I'm looking for? Logical correlations for this whole time. Like, what is the structure of the Pokemon Gym Challenge? What are the rules? How are things decided? Why are they decided that way? This game provides context for all that.
It also does, for, again, I haven't played it at all. I've just been watching him play. It looks like it does a really good job of making it feel like the thing it's based on. Like, it feels like you're in Poke England.
Yeah, it really does.
Whereas I never felt like I was in Poke France in Pokemon X.
Yeah.
Just felt like another Pokemon area. There was the Eiffel Tower. That sure is a thing that's in France. And also, like, theme parks.
As much as I love Gen 5, I never felt like I was in Poke America. So, the other thing I think it does really well is because the experience share is always on, it allows them to balance encounters and experience gain for it to be always on. I am actually a little underleveled, which is my own fault, because I didn't really have a set team until very recently, and even then, I might switch one or two out before, you know, the big grand finale fights. I've cleared all the gyms, I just haven't gotten past that. I've been doing other shit, but if you weren't out grinding, if you just take the encounters as they come, don't run from them, just go straight, you know, do your thing, you should be roughly in level line.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
Grinding is the devil.
Like, you shouldn't have to grind.
There is a type of person who likes grinding. I am not that type of person.
Well, and if you are that type of person, you can do what I did and raise up the other Pokemon. I did it so I could see their evolutions and, you know, check out, well, maybe I do like this one. And if I think they're dumb but just want their evolutions for my eventual return to a living Dex, then I have them. I've done that in the background while I was training up someone I give a shit about. I like the raid battles. I think they're neat. It's not anywhere near as intimidating as they sound. Oh, playing Pokemon with other people trying to do a raid thing, that's kind of sketch. No, it's fine. There's some exploits in the online synchronization that people are abusing that have made it less easy to get into, and that's annoying, but I'm sure it's something Nintendo will fix if they haven't already. I had to unsubscribe from the Pokemon Reddit a long time ago for the drama, so I'm not up on the latest patch notes. And I like the options. They've included like smaller bits of rare candy that are just solid experience and not a guaranteed level. So you can just kind of pump guys up.
That's
like
nice.
it's just overall the whole thing is great, and I'm given to understand that I've got more gameplay beyond what is obviously coming in the Elite Four equivalent. So I'm looking forward to it. Good story, good characters, great art, amazing music, sound design is top notch. Yeah.
Glad to hear, friend.
Yeah. What about you, pal? What have you been occupying your time with?
Some personal affairs, and besides those, I have been occupying a lot of my time by finally playing Red Dead Redemption 2. It was on sale. The Super Double Mega Extra Good Edition was on sale for Black Friday. So me and him pitched in half and half, and we bought ourselves a cowboy simulator. I've been moseying along the trail playing dickhead Arthur Morgan. I love him. That wasn't an insult to the character. I really like Red Dead Redemption 2. It is a Rockstar game. Let's not mince words here. It is a Rockstar game. So it has some of the issues that Rockstar games tend to have.
Both, at least as far as I've played it, narratively and control-wise.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the characters are a little less than super sympathetic because Rockstar is great at making shithead assholes, but not great at making people you actually like and want to see succeed. Some of them are great. Some of them are very sympathetic. Arthur is as sympathetic as you want him to be, as you personally decide that he should be.
I'm going to make strides to do that. I feel like after I get to the point in the story where shit opens up, it's going to be a lot less me playing the story and a lot more me wandering around looking at birds.
It has a wealth. It has so many things you can do that I am not going to do. There are at least 3 or 4 games in this game. Like smaller games. There's an entire hunting game where you have to get good at hunting and figure out how to get perfect hunting pelts for rewards for your cool cowboy outfit. There's an entire fishing game. It's a little fishing mini game where you can search up legendary fish and give them to a legendary fish guy for money. There's 3 or 4 more of those, and I'm sure there's more I haven't found yet. Because I'm not anywhere near the beginning of the game. I think I'm not even into 30% clearance through the game yet, and I've been playing for, 10 hours?
At least.
20, maybe?
I mean, this is going to be me, though, because, I'm a Soulsborne player. I'm going to want to play Cowboy Dress Up.
Yeah, and, you will have to figure out how to kill legendary bears without hurting their hide too much, because that will damage the value.
I'll boop them right in the snoot with an arrow from 4,000 paces.
I don't like the bow and arrow controls in this game. That, I think, is a function of it being a Rockstar game. White said he didn't have a problem with them.
No, I killed all 3 of those. Well, I only wounded the second deer. But...
I am a bow and arrow connoisseur. I play bow and arrow guy whenever possible in almost every game. They're not good bow and arrow controls. The rifle controls are good for the most part. Not completely, but they're good. They're good in a way that... Oh, God, what was it we talked about before? Did we talk about Rage on this podcast?
No.
They are good in a way that the console port of Rage wishes it was.
I'm gonna interrupt you, and I'm gonna let you finish. Rage. Some of the other things I've been doing especially, is playing games that Xbox has given me for free, because Xbox does that. And I've been looking into a new game. I'd like to experience new things. I tried a bunch of stuff that was recommended to me. I tried a lot of stuff that was said to be like Dark Souls and and I found some stuff I liked. I played a little bit of Hellblade and got past the first guy. I think it was Surtur and Valravn, and then I basically stopped because I don't know that game is going to offer anything else to me. I know how it ends.
And so you don't think anything after this is going to be better than Valravn?
Valravn was so incredible. He, like, jump-started creative juices that had been laying stagnant. Rage has such cool box art. Rage 2, specifically. And I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted that in my life.
In the interest of not being very negative Nancy's on the podcast, the game is bad. Going into too much detail is just...
No. Yeah, I mean, that's what drew me to it was that. And then, like, you load up the game and it is not that. It's a different thing.
The game is not good. It is bad. It's a bad video game. All of the parts of it are bad.
That's the same thing I've been happening a lot lately. Like, I see a good box art and I load up the game and it's like, this is not... Like, that flew in the Super Nintendo games because, of course, the box art is not going to look like the game. It's pixels compared to whatever. But nowadays, come on, man. If you're going to show me a photorealistic dude, I better not load up to cel-shaded fucking graphics.
If you're going to show me a photorealistic, yelling, cool Raider man, I better not load up to be cel-shaded, McReplaceable Marine, sassy douche nozzle.
A cat exploded. That was what that noise was.
But anyway, Red Dead Redemption 2.
Please, go back to the Cowboys.
I really like the story. I really like Arthur Morgan. Now I am partially biased because there was a role-playing game character I made years ago who I really wanted to play, but realized wouldn't work well in a party because he's not a good person. So, and it was for like a Western game, was the idea. I never got around to playing it, never got around to, getting a chance to play that character. And then Arthur Morgan shows up, and he's that character. He's some version of a character I've been wanting to play forever, which is cool cowboy who does like thief and outlaw stuff, but not necessarily whilst at the same time being a puppy murdering rapist. And I like being able to ride that line of the cool outlaw who is outside the law and does bad things, but has his own personal code. And I like that.
Yeah.
And that's how I play Arthur Morgan, and it makes me really happy. There are parts of the game that are, again, it's a Rockstar game. It's pretty clear even I'm at like 20% through the game, from 10% through the game. It's been very clear to me that Dutch Vanderland is, hey cousin, let's go see big American titties. He's a complete fuck up who Arthur has been dragging through life.
I have been so self-amused by my running narrative for Arthur talking to Dutch, because you guys know me, I do stupid voices. If you've watched any of my Let's Plays, I do stupid voices and narrate my character's thoughts. Yeah, I'm called my shots on Dutch, and I don't think I'm going to be wrong.
The game, Arthur in the game doesn't realize it, but the game is clearly okay with you as the player noticing.
I'm not out of the prologue. I can't change my own pants yet. We're about to do the train robbery. And I am aware
that Dutch Vanderland is a fuck up.
But also, I also have to say that I really like, and I might be wrong on this, I like that Arthur's kind of stupid.
Yeah, he's not the brightest bulb. He's kind of dumb. He's not an idiot, but he's not clever.
I really like that.
In the mold of Roland Deschain of Gilead, he's not clever. He thinks in straight lines.
I like it a lot because in games, when you have a character that is otherwise smart or whatever, clever, what have you.
When you're playing someone who's supposed to be a genius, taking orders from and trusting somebody like Dutch would rub me the wrong way because my character should be smart enough to recognize that this guy is a complete moron.
Or even when I played Grand Theft Auto 4, was it the one with 4? Yeah. I never finished it because I read what happens and was like, why would my dude ever work for
Why
these
would
people?
My super chill, like, just wants to be cool and have a nice American job, friendly man do all of these objectively bad decisions? No, I'm good.
Yeah, so...
Whereas I could believe Arthur Morgan making some very bad decisions for his crime dad.
I'm nodding. You can't see that. This is not a visual medium.
It's an audio medium.
Yeah.
But what else have we been doing?
Well, speaking of, and in brief, because I don't want to go into spoiler territory at all, outlaws with a thin moral code but a strong moral backbone at the end of the day. We have been enjoying The Mandalorian.
It's so good, you guys. I've recommended it to everyone who's even remotely mentioned Star Wars to me. And that's more people than you might think. Since The Mandalorian started, it's so good.
Yep.
It is. I'm not gonna go into too much detail. If you've been on social media, you know at least one spoiler. But I'm not even gonna mention that. It is just a really good Western samurai Ronin story.
Yeah.
And I've in the same reason, I guess it might honestly have something to do with the fact that I finally bought Red Dead Redemption 2. Like, it might have influenced that decision.
Maybe.
Because Did you
want to get Samurai Showdown too? Because
it's one of those genres that I've been wanting to see more of for a long time.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that too. It's just, I don't know. It's weird that the Westerns are gone, and it's nice to see them back. In a very public way. I know other Westerns have been made recently. But speaking of Star Wars, that segue keeps on rolling. We rewatched the original trilogy.
Yeah, we have a friend who has not seen them, the original trilogy, basically any of them. I think she watched, like, part of A New Hope.
I think she finished the movie, but, like, alone 5 years ago.
But she hasn't watched the original trilogy, and she certainly hasn't watched it with people who like it, which improves a movie.
Yeah.
So, in the lead-up to the end, and I'm making the biggest possible air quotes here, end of the Star Wars saga, we wanted to catch her up on all the Star Wars movies she hasn't seen. And, so we watched the original trilogy. We're going to watch the prequels if we have time before we get to the new Star Wars movie. And if we have time after that, we're going to throw in Rogue One and Solo.
Yeah, well, we're going to watch the sequels. We're watching the prequels, so we'll get through that crap. I would love to cut them out, but...
They're necessary for context.
Yeah, if what I think is going to happen is going to happen...
No, I think it is.
Have those prequels in there. And I do want to get through at least The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens. I want to see The Force Awakens again. It's been a few years. I was in a bad place when I saw the first time.
I want to see The Last Jedi again. As much as I've given it shit... having watched the original trilogy again, I am prepared to give The Last Jedi a lot more fucking slack, because...
That's the interesting thing, and why I brought it up, and a big part of why I wanted to do the Mezcla podcast, as we sometimes do. If Star Wars came out today, brand new IP, I'd be okay with it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be a Star Wars fan if it came out today. I would like it in the same way I like Game of Thrones,
Sure.
Before season 8, or any other cool new fantasy property. Yeah, this is neat. I like this show. I like this, or like Carnival Row. I watched all of Carnival Row on Amazon TV. I would like Star Wars about as much as I like Carnival Row if it came out today. Those movies don't entirely hold up, and I'm pretty upset about it. Now, here's the thing, though. I'm still just as big of a Star Wars fan, because for me, Star Wars is member berries. I love those movies. That's fucking Chewbacca. I don't care if the movie's bad. That's Chewbacca standing there.
And a lot of me wonders if the shine didn't come off of that apple for me personally. I'm not being aware of it before I saw The Force Awakens, and maybe that's part of the impact. I don't know.
Like maybe you, in the intervening years between the Revenge of the Sith and then The Force Awakens, you changed enough that A New Hope would be not great, and then they made A New Hope, and you were like, this isn't great. They fucked it up, when in reality they did not.
I have thoughts on that, but I'm sure we'll deliver them in a later podcast. I want to stick to the original trilogy right now.
Yeah.
A New Hope isn't groundbreaking, obviously. That ground's already been broken, but it holds up.
It was at the time, obviously.
Right. It holds up okay.
It has pacing issues that I've known about since I was a teenager.
Sure.
It is breakneck, ridiculous, serial 1940s Flash Gordon pacing until this one 30-minute segment or 20-minute segment near the end of the movie where the movie just grinds to a complete halt. And I've seen people who are really into the movie recently and in the past fall asleep in that 20 minutes because the previous pacing is so breakneck that it's like oh God, thank God there's a second.
I've been that person. Once you get to the point where they're talking about the plans,
The movie grinds to a complete fucking halt after a huge breakneck pace where there's not really much in the way of breathing room.
I also forgot how bad the original dialogue was. That's our washer, man. You guys probably can't hear it, but it is indeed our washer.
There was a weird noise, and I looked off to the side. Jedi Empire holds up for me. I think Spork will contest this, but for me, Jedi. I keep saying Jedi. Empire holds up the best of the three. I've long considered Empire the best Star Wars movie, so I'm probably biased. But it has good pacing. It has a solid through line, and it clearly, as opposed to the ending of A New Hope, which could be the end of the movie. Like that could be the last of the Star War. Empire is clearly setting up for a sequel. So the downer, very, very low, very bad ending, as it were, for that kind of genre, doesn't feel bad because you know that another one is coming.
I don't know. I don't feel it's a downer ending. I just feel it's, in 1980, I believe. Maybe that was a good cliffhanger for a sequel. It's not the ending of the first Kill Bill movie.
That's fair. The first Kill Bill movie is a much better sequel cliffhanger.
Yeah, it's so much of a... we have a podcast and I'm trying to speak quickly, so forgive my extra speech here, but it's got such a wet fart of an ending that it's less... I'm excited to watch the next movie and more like, oh, it's over. Okay. And I would love to contest that Empire holds up the best of the original trilogy. I did want to say something else about A New Hope. We watched a cut scene.
I'm mad about having watched that cut scene.
I have known about this for ages. I've seen the stills. I haven't ever actually watched it. But the scene where Luke goes and talks to Biggs and his friends about, joining the rebellion and stuff. And it does so much more to set up Luke's character.
Luke's character is fundamentally changed by that scene in an incredibly positive way. He comes across as a much different, much less fucking annoying person.
He's super relatable. You can feel his youth better. You can feel his I am a redneck kid better.
His age-appropriate youth.
Yes.
He feels like a teen yearning for something more instead of a fucking spoiled child. Which is how he comes across at the beginning of A New Hope. Long has been mocked the line, I want to go to Tashi Station and pick up some Pokemon. And that is how that line sounds to me. I'm not exaggerating.
I know, I'm just enjoying the waveform, that's all.
It deserves that mockery. It's a bad line. It was a bad line read of that line.
I can only imagine the direction. No, you're very upset. Power converters are your whole fucking life. You live on a dust ball, and this is all you have to look forward to.
But if you had introduced Luke from that scene, from the scene that comes first, you could have kept the power converters line in there, and it would have felt more genuine. I am upset that got cut, especially because it would have been really good for the movie's pacing to put it in there right after the big opening scene where the explosions and shit happen. You cut to that scene, then you go back to the droids, because that would have given you a break in the pacing to pick back up on later.
Yeah, that's another thing I noticed is that A New Hope and Jedi don't have anywhere near the editing quality that Empire has. They do similar editing themes, but Empire's cuts and breaks are just perfectly paced. And
it is, even if you don't like the ending, it is overall the best of the original trilogy, just because it is. The story is better paced. The editing is better. The dialogue is, in general, a lot better. It's more realistic sounding. And it has the best version of Yoda. Fight me.
I would love to argue with you, and let's talk about Return of the Jedi now. My childhood weeps at watching this movie again, because Jedi was my favorite for, ever.
And I can understand why. It has so much neat world building.
It does. Like, and I've watched Jedi more than any other Star Wars movie. Like, on repeat kind of thing. Because I was just so amazed at all the stuff in Jabba's palace and all the cool stuff with the Ewoks, and the speeders are really awesome in the 90s. And they're really awesome now too. What the hell? Everything is just so interesting. The whole world building thing is so interesting. But the movie Jedi is carried on its action scenes, and that action does not stand up compared to even the original or the prequel trilogy.
One caveat: the final fight between Luke and Vader is still really good.
Oh yeah, that sucks you back in. And
it doesn't
the final
stand
space
up
battle
to modern lightsaber combat because it's just they didn't have a team of like really well-versed kung fu action stunt team to choreograph their fucking awesome laser sword fights.
Their emotion was stronger, though.
Yeah, they had really strong, but they come through with really strong emotion and really strong. You feel the weight of Luke Skywalker's determination in those fights. You feel the weight of Vader's absolute confidence. In the same way you do in Empire, but Empire's lightsaber battles don't hold up to modern lightsaber battles either. I want to make that clear.
Empire's lightsaber battles don't hold up to modern lightsaber battles, and Luke as a character was a weaker part of that fight.
Yeah.
Because at that point, all Luke is doing is
surviving.
Is fighting the bad guy. He has only confidence and scrap. Whereas in Jedi, it's personal.
All Vader's doing is toying with someone.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas in Jedi, it's personal for Luke, and Vader is clearly having to fucking pull off the brakes. He's clearly having to try.
Yeah.
And it makes just for a really good combat scene. It's the best combat scene in the whole movie. But it doesn't hold up to modern standards, but I'm trying not to judge it on those.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the thing, though, is that, like, I don't think anybody is going to argue with you that the Beatles was a really important band at the time.
You're about to say internet heresy, and I'm not going to stop you. Go.
They're not. No one's going to argue with you about that.
No,
but,
I mean, it's just true.
And in that same vein, no one's going to argue with you that Star Wars was a ridiculously important trilogy of movies at the time. But we've moved on. Ocarina of Time is not the best Zelda game.
And that, unfortunately, is true. I don't want it to be.
Sure.
I never liked the teddy bears kicking the shit out of the Empire. I've never liked that. I like the Ewoks. I like their world building. I like their society. I like their little language. I like that they were going to eat the main cast. Hardcore little murder teddy bears. But the way they clown best of the best bothers me.
I think the pacing could have been a bit better there. I think they could have sold a little bit better that... Because, like, in the expanded universe, they talk about how, modern armor and stuff is not meant to hold up to getting hit in the back of the head with a sharp stick. It's for blasters. People don't tend to use sharp sticks when plasma cutters and stuff are cheaper and it's got fire. So, like, there's that kind of idea there.
But hardened Imperial, weaponry that has stood up to explosions and turbo laser fire getting taken out by too big log is never gonna not be stupid. I'm sorry.
I think if they had, like a modern movie would do, taken time to explain that. I mean, as Star Wars has done before, as Luke said about, hitting womp rats with his T-16. Yeah, no, this is possible. This makes sense in universe. Shut up. They didn't do that there, though. They just kind of let it ride, and you're like... What? It is what it is. We watched the special edition, so I got to enjoy it. Well, the most recent edition. Lots of beautiful edits. Lots of the sky scenes and lots of the matte paintings and stuff. Fixing some of the color contrast on some of the matte shots, while still not perfect.
If George Lucas had limited himself to just improving the backgrounds and just touching stuff up,
another modern pass on some of the CGI, that would have been great.
But
here is Jabba the Hutt in episode 4, Dancing Baby from Ally McBeal.
Also, look, I know I don't really remember what time frame the original trilogy takes place over, but from A New Hope to Jedi Jabba put on a lot of weight. Is he okay?
Well, I was trying to look up what the time frame on that was, and it turns out there's a gigantic plot hole. So.
Really?
Yeah, well, okay, so Luke is supposed to be training with Yoda while Han and Leia are hiding in the meteor.
Yeah.
So either Luke got literally the worst Jedi training ever over the course of a few days, or Han and Leia were in that asteroid forever.
Oh, yeah. I've always known that plot hole was there in Empire. It is a plot hole. They do Luke's training in the Dagobah system, and they cut back to, and him doing running, jumping, and he's clearly much more familiar with Yoda, blah, 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 and they cut back, and it's been like 3 days, and then he leaves, and then he never comes back until Yoda's about to die. What's between Empire and Jedi? How long?
There's actually a pretty decent amount of time between Empire and Jedi.
For him to have gone back to Yoda and
finished
that. Which, I mean, I guess...
I don't think he goes back to Yoda, though.
Whatever he did to finish his training. But to become a Jedi. Yeah, it's always been... That, as much as I love Empire, that has always bothered the shit out of me, is that the timescales don't match at all.
And you can, make some reasoning. Obviously Luke is undertrained. I feel like it's part of his greater character arc. But, I mean, it's reasonable to think that Han had snacks enough to sustain them for maybe a week or so. But even still...
I mean, yeah, at the outside, a week. Let's say they were in that thing for a week, and that's why Vader was so pissed that they hadn't found them yet.
Yeah.
That's still only a week. Again, I want to see The Last Jedi again, because having watched the original trilogy, I am prepared to give The Last Jedi a lot more slack than I did before.
It's part of why I love The Last Jedi. It's part of why I love the beginning of Return of the Jedi, when we finally see Luke, and he waltzes into Jabba's palace and immediately force-toe chokes 2 Gamorrean guards like it ain't no thing. Here, this is evil.
He spends that whole movie just like, am I going to be evil? Tune in to find out.
Look, I got the black clothes. My lightsaber's green. Now, what does that mean? We know red's bad. We know blue's good. What's green? Questions. Just my favorite color. Yeah, I love Star Wars as a concept. I love the expanded universe. I can still quote Jedi in hoodies. But it's not something I'm going to watch all the time,
No,
And it's been a long time since I've watched them in the first place.
It's the firmament. The original trilogy is the firmament from which a thing I love, Star Wars, springs. Mm-hmm. And it leads to things like The Mandalorian, which is astonishingly excellent, and Knights of the Old Republic, and Knights of the Old Republic 2, most of the way, and just a bunch of stuff that I really love and think is kind of better.
I am so excited for an expanded Star Wars visual universe that isn't about the Skywalker family.
I don't believe that that's going to happen.
I don't believe that that's the only thing we're going to get. But I am excited that now that The Mandalorian is here...
And everyone loves it.
And I loved Solo, and for
Everyone
the most part,
hated
Rogue
it.
One as well. I loved Solo. I will fight you. That had some shaky parts in the beginning. I will not argue with that, but I will argue with you on the rest of them.
How he got the name is bad.
Oh, sure.
Make that admission, and I will not fight you on the rest.
It was dumb. I rolled my eyes at the time.
But yeah, it's
pretty much where he meets Chewie. Then on, good stuff. Yeah, so that's what we've been doing. That's what we've been catching up on. It's the holiday season, so we're allowed to be a little lazy. What's coming next week? Who fucking knows?
Maybe more catch up. Maybe we'll talk about more Star Wars. We're gonna have we've got a whole prequel trilogy to watch, and boy howdy, if I don't like the original trilogy as much as I used to, Phantom Menace is gonna be rough. And I'm a Phantom Menace apologist. I am going to actively be angry for most of the screening of Attack of the Clones.
I'm an Attack of the Clones apologist, and I've seen it recently enough to know that the apology is more of a hanging head, kick the dirt, sorry, than like a, I think you'll find that C-3PO needs to shut the fuck up.
But you'll see when I see. We might decide that day. In any case, everything's better when nerds talk about it. Fuck it!